is the most commonly used drug on the planet, up to 25% in the Western population. What happens in the stomach is mostly protein digestion. Today we're talking about a very interesting topic which up to 30% of us suffer with from time to time, which is indigestion or acid reflux or heartburn, all really the same thing. And they're responsible for the most popularly purchased over-the-counter drug in the world, antacids. So we're going to dig into this, and I'm going to share this webpage with you. You can follow with the QR code in the top corner there if you really want to dig into things further. But basically we're going to give you the herbs and the foods and the methodologies that you can use to address acid reflux and heartburn. Yes, it's no coincidence that this is the most commonly used drug on the planet, as so many of us suffer with heartburn. Up to 25% in the Western population, I would say more in most affluent countries where there's an excess of protein consumption, in particular meats, and we're going to talk about that a bit further. But it's also called GERD, or gastroesophageal reflux disease. So it's a combination of acid reflux, heartburn, indigestion, and all those things that go on simultaneously. 12% of us experience symptoms weekly and 5% daily. So it's very, very common. Common triggers: overeating, alcohol, rich meals and desserts. But I'm going to talk about protein as well. And it's often worsened by low stomach acid. So this is what a lot of holistic and natural practitioners do, is they will actually prescribe hydrochloric acid, which you can get in health stores. But I'm going to talk about herbal and dietary approaches that you can use. It's associated with a weak esophageal sphincter, which is the muscle at the bottom of your stomach. And I'm just going to show you what this is in a second. It can cause inflammation and ulcers. Some people even have hiatus hernias, which is where the stomach bursts up through the diaphragm. So these things can be quite uncomfortable, painful, and very difficult to deal with on a long-term basis. It can put you off eating your normal food. The symptoms, and basically the acid from the stomach comes up through the valve at the bottom of the esophagus, and so you get this acid burning feeling, and it can feel like some people think they're having a heart attack when they get acid reflux, because the pain in the chest can be so severe. It also can be coexisting with other inflammatory bowel conditions, IBS, Crohn's disease, bloating, constipation, and other digestive problems. So we'll talk about how that's related to acid reflux. So here's a good picture of the stomach with the stomach contents. There's the esophagus, which is basically the tube that comes down from your mouth to your stomach. And there's a valve here. So this valve is supposed to be a one-way valve, which stops things coming back up. Things can go through it that way, so it sort of like goes like that. Things can go down through the valve, but they're not supposed to come back up from the stomach into the esophagus. And when that happens, of course, that's when the acid gets into that. And it feels like it's near your heart, because your esophagus goes up straight to your mouth from your stomach, and the heart is quite near it, quite close to it. So when that burning sensation happens in your esophagus, it can feel like a heart attack. So it's something to be aware of when you think someone's experiencing that pain. There's quite a big difference between a heart attack and indigestion. Obviously, indigestion is something that they would have more often, and they should know that that's what they're having. So the burning sensation behind the breastbone, heartburn, that's why it's called heartburn. It feels like the heart's burning. Sour taste, bad breath, nausea, pain in the upper abdomen, so just below the ribs. Problems swallowing, painful swallowing, respiratory issues, coughing and wheezing, because everything can contract in the chest as a result of it. Vomiting, and even erosion of the tooth enamel. So let's really get into what causes heartburn, because this is quite interesting. And this is something we just mentioned before, lack of digestive acids in the stomach. So what happens here in the stomach, you chew your food up and then it goes down into your stomach here. And what happens in the stomach is mostly protein digestion. So a little bit of carbohydrate breakdown and fats are kind of broken down a little bit, but not really. That happens more down in the intestine. But what happens mostly in the stomach is protein digestion. What happens with protein digestion is it's hydrolysis. In other words, water is involved in the process. So there's enzymes, pepsin is the enzyme, but there's water involved in the hydrolysis process. So in other words, water is used to break down the protein with that enzyme. And you might notice when you go to a restaurant that the first thing you'll get is water. You'll always get a bottle of water and glasses of water. And it's a bit of a myth that's been around, is people say, oh, you shouldn't drink water with your food because it dilutes the acids in your stomach. Well, it's not actually true. You need water with your food to break it down, especially if you're having a lot of protein. So a big problem people have is eating too much meat, too many eggs, cheese, nuts, heavy protein food like that, because protein can sit in your stomach here for 8 to 10 hours. And now you can imagine when you start having other food going down on top of that, this protein is sitting there trying to be digested. Whereas carbohydrates and fats can go through the stomach very, very quickly within an hour, within less than an hour, within 30 minutes. They can be out of the stomach and into your intestine for digestion. So it's really important when you're having protein to have water to go in there and to have good production of acids. So we'll talk about that a bit more further down. So the lack of digestive enzymes, but also that water is important. Pressure on the abdomen for being overweight or obese. So if you eat too much constantly, your intestines are going to be struggling with processing all that food, and that protein can be sitting here. Basically, you're going to get a build-up of pressure and it's going to blow back, right? So that one-way valve is going to fail and you're going to get reflux. So it can be just purely overconsumption of too much food, becoming overweight and obese, even being pregnant. Having too much volume in your gut is going to cause back pressure, basically. What else? Chronic metabolic acidosis. So that's generally having too much protein long term can give you metabolic acidosis, but that's not really a big one, I don't think, with acid reflux. Medications. A lot of medications can interfere with calcium channel blockers, for example, antihistamines, painkillers, can interfere with the gut functioning, shut it down so your digestive process doesn't work very well. Smoking, that can be related to that valve failure, but poor dietary choices, too much meat, alcohol, and we'll talk about this further. So antacids are not the solution. They might temporarily reduce the amount of acid in your gut, but that's not going to solve the digestive problem that's behind it. And it's, in the long term, going to cause a downward spiral and worse dependency on antacids because they haven't solved the issue in the first place. So a lot of these medications, calcium channel blockers, things to, laxatives to get things moving, they're temporary fixes. They're not really long-term healing solutions. So we're going to talk about the long-term solutions, the holistic approach. So we're going to go through 15 of these. I'm going to go through them fairly quickly due to time. We don't want to be here all day with this, so I'll skip through quickly. And if you want to go back and investigate, you'll find links to the references and information on each of these things as we go. So the main approach is we want to improve the stomach acids and enzymes. We want to add that water, remember that, with protein. We want to boost the whole digestive process with digestive stimulants and warming digestives. And we want to relax the intestines and get things moving through the gut better. So your general digestion is improved. And we'll look at food and diet towards the end. So aloe vera, you've probably all heard of aloe vera. It's a very, very good gut healer. It's known to soothe and cool the membranes of the gut, reduce inflammation, support healing of the gut membranes, and improve bowel regularity. So it's a very, very good digestive remedy in general. And I suggest getting aloe vera drink and having that every day, having, a shot glass basically of aloe vera juice. Super good for healing any sort of gut issue, really. Apple cider vinegar and lemon juice. So this is another great way just to support your digestion, is to put a shot of, I would suggest apple cider vinegar and a squeeze of lemon into a bit of water, having that as a shot. You can have that before food, for the best effect, for really good immediate digestive effect. Stimulates the bile flow, healthy stomach acid, helps breaking down food, helps emulsify fats. It generally stimulates the whole digestive system because it's got that bitter flavour, which is a great way to stimulate digestive system. Chamomile tea, so this can be really calming and soothing and healing. It relaxes the gut, alleviates spasms, and it promotes digestion in general. Chamomile is an excellent remedy. Next, we've got fennel seed. The fennel seed is often used in Indian cooking, and Indian restaurants. You'll find that they quite often they'll put fennel seed out, and it's a good after dinner chew. You just chew the seeds, and it really helps. Or cumin seeds also do this. It really helps soothe and promote digestion. They have an alkalizing effect. They ease cramps. They reduce gas and bloating and pressure in the gut in general. So very, very good use, long-term regular use for indigestion, help preventing indigestion. Ginger root is another fantastic digestive herb. It's a warming digestive that warms and stimulates the whole digestive system, relaxes the muscles, again reduces gas and bloating, encourages enzyme productions, stimulates the stomach to empty. So it's another fantastic food, great addition to your food if you're cooking stir fries and things, just fresh ginger. Fresh ginger is far better than the powder as far as that goes. Kiwi fruit. So it's another myth is you shouldn't have fruit or dessert after eating food. So a lot of the fruits have these enzymes, and we're going to talk about a couple more of them, that help actually break down the food and help you to break down those proteins that could be sitting there for a long, long time otherwise. So they have all these effects. Kiwi fruit's known as a gentle laxative as well, stimulating laxative. So just another fantastic food. Plus, all these things have fiber. And that's another thing. If you don't have enough fiber, if you're having too much protein, you could not be getting enough fiber because the fiber comes in all the plants and fruits and vegetables. So having more fiber, especially fiber with water and enzymes, as far as that goes, getting it in fruit is the best way. Licorice root. So licorice is another incredible digestive herb. Coats and soothes and heals. That's called the demulcent property. The esophagus and the stomach lining. It stimulates mucin production, so it helps protect the mucous membranes in your gut. It's an anti-inflammatory. It helps the adrenal hormones in your body stay in the system longer. Helps stabilizes the adrenal system. So that's another thing. When you're under stress, your digestive system shuts down. So stress can be another factor. Here's another fantastic enzyme-rich food. It's papaya or pawpaw. Same thing, really. Great digestive enzyme-rich fruit. So I highly recommend having this after you've eaten food if you want to improve the protein digestion. It contains an enzyme which helps digest the protein. And so does the next one, pineapple. Fantastic digestive enzyme-rich food. So if you had, say, pineapple and pawpaw and kiwi fruit as a fruit salad and have a little bit of that after your meal, you should find that helps your digestion incredibly well. And it will help get those proteins to go down. So it helps these enzymes, trypsin and pepsin. So the protein digesting enzymes again. So that's a fantastic suggestion. There's the Digesade capsules we do that's got most of those herbs in there, and people report incredible results with that. So let's just get into diet a little bit. There's a lot of foods that actually aggravate indigestion and acid reflux. So it's important to avoid late night snacking or eating too close to bedtime, because what that does is it means you've got to lie down with that food sitting right there in your stomach, and it doesn't really help protect that valve. Remember that backflow that's not supposed to happen with that valve? So if you're lying down with a full stomach at bedtime and you haven't digested any of that food, it's not helpful at all. So it's not good to be having midnight snacks or snacking just before bed, or having cakes and desserts and then lying down and going to bed. Not a good idea. Alcohol, fast food, burgers, deep fried food, all that sort of thing. Canned foods, and lots of food with lots of preservatives, foods that aren't rich in that fiber, those enzymes, or the water. So bread, meat, chips, all that sort of thing. not good, not really easily digestible food, and it's going to cause a build-up in your gut. Fizzy drink, deep fried food, we talked about a little bit. Having too much of that food with those, denatured fats, too many carbs, too many sugars, things that really just not really good for your gut at all. Nothing that's in there that's really good for the gut. French fries, fried chicken, fried fish, donuts, soft drinks, high fat foods, well, high processed fat foods that way. And here's another good tip. Have only light food in the mornings so that your body can because the gut empties itself overnight. It should, in the morning, you should have an empty stomach. And it's really good to just nurture that empty stomach for as long as possible in the mornings and not go straight into really heavy, rich foods. So I recommend having light breakfasts, having fruit for breakfast, or having a smoothie in the morning, or even waiting till lunch. Do the old intermittent fasting thing. It really helps your stomach. So just have a break and let it heal, let it recover, and let it get itself back in balance. So even 2 meals a day is a good idea. And it's helped to improve symptoms in 75% of patients. So, just keep it to a minimum in the early parts of the day. That's a good idea. And to have your dinner, at a good dinner time, not 8:30, 9 o'clock, but have it at 6 maybe, 7 at the latest, and give yourself 2 or 3 hours to digest that food before lying down and going to bed. This is a good recommendation as a general rule, as a diet, as the Mediterranean diet, is, lots of fish or chicken, but with a lot of salad and quite a little bit of good olive oil. Tomatoes are good, colourful foods are good. Having olive oil, seafood, fresh fruits and vegetables, that general mix, that Mediterranean diet mix, is a really good idea. So you can look at the process of weight loss as well, because that's part of that whole picture we talked about earlier, that general build-up in the gut, intestinal inflammation and backlog, weight gain, obesity, all those things. So it's really good to look at diet, having smaller meals, and I think that's pretty much it. So you can also find some of these herbs here, the aloe juices there, the Digese tea, which is helpful, the capsules. So they've got pretty much most of the herbs that we talked about during this episode. So I hope that's been helpful and you've gained some insights into the causes of indigestion and acid reflux, but also what you can do with herbs and what you can do with food to alleviate it. And one last note is, remember stress we talked about as part of this. It's really important to have a relaxed environment when you eat, not be constantly eating on the run, to take a few deep breaths, sit down, take your time, and potentially, socialize or just have more of a relaxing time with your food, and give yourself a good slow eating pace, chew the food really well, and just take your time with your food and enjoy that whole process. And I'm sure that that's going to contribute a lot to alleviating indigestion, acid reflux, and so on. So thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this video with anyone that you think that might benefit from it, and have a great day. Talk soon.